Is how are we leveraging AI in skills assessments, in skill matching, in talent management or learning and development? I think there needs to be more examples of doing that well, because I think that's where AI really should be leveraged, because it's very hard to do those sorts of things without technology. So now that the technology is here, how are we going to utilize that to the best of our ability to really make a difference?
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Recruiting Revolution Season 3. Our guest today is Hana Malla from Australia. Hana brings over 11 years of extensive experience in human resource, majorly in the health sector, and is Associate Director at Premier's Department, New South Wales. Welcome to the podcast, Hana. Excited to have you here.
Thanks, Nini. I'm excited to be here too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Just to start off the podcast, can you just help us out with your whole journey in the human resource field?
Yeah, so I think I say this all the time. I am very lucky that I, had a real positive trajectory into human resources. So really traditional approach. I finished high school. I went to uni. I majored in business and commerce and human resources, and I stayed in that field the whole time. So I know that, especially these days, people's journeys are different, or they find themselves in another area that they didn't think they'd be in. But mine has just been really smooth into HR and recruitment. So I was lucky that I liked it from the beginning. I have a mix of experience in the private sector and the public sector. So I started in the private sector in a graduate program. I did more HR admin type work, rostering and things like that, which I really enjoyed. And then I got straight into recruitment in the public sector. Most of my experience is in-house recruitment. I have had some experience as an external recruiter, but I found I'm not a very good salesperson. So in-house works best for me. And at the moment, I have spent the last, 11 or so years, majority in recruitment, but I also have a background in HR. And at the moment, I'm a talent manager.
Okay. Do you think there's a difference in public and private sector? Can you give us a little bit, of your journey into both the areas?
I think in terms of recruiting people, the difference between the private and public sector is the different levels of engagement. So, when you're recruiting in the public sector, you're recruiting people who want to make a difference, or people who are passionate about the agency that they might be joining or the department. So it can be a little bit easier to attract people depending on what agency you're in, but it's hard everywhere, of course. Where in the private sector, it might be a little bit more difficult for people to find what they're looking for. They might have, because it's for profit, it's a little bit more difficult. It's a bit harder. But, both, especially now, recruitment in general is pretty challenging. So I think just tapping into what people want is probably key.
Got it. Also, talking about challenge, we have to talk about COVID-19. And, we all that the tech industry was, the major effect was on tech industry. We saw a decline in recruitment and downsizing of HR teams. So because you've been into the public health organizations, did you find anything different in the health sector as compared to the tech organizations?
I think it was very different, I think, in the health sector, because all eyes all over the world was on the health sector. So it's not like tech where a lot of layoffs happened. People were needed healthcare workers more than anything. And actually, we were sourcing people from all over into the health sector. So it was a challenge, but it was actually helped with some of those layoffs, because where I worked, we kind of rolled out a COVID center, like a contact tracing center. And we actually, one industry, like the airline industry, for example, really took a big hit from COVID because people were not traveling. But we took a lot of those staff members because they had excellent customer service experience, and we put them in those centers. So it was like reskilling before reskilling was a thing. Yeah, so that was really interesting.
Got it. Also, we've seen recruitment evolve, and you've seen recruitment evolve for such a long time, like more than a decade. So, what are some of the trends that you've seen, since then till now? Like, what are some cool trends that you've encountered?
Definitely the advancement of technology has really uplifted recruiters' games. It's really uplifted the way we search for people. I think technology also actually probably played a part in the shift between it being an employer's market to an employee's market, especially in that tech category. Skills shortages, aging population. There's so many things that over the last decade that we've come to realize through data and analytics and research that has really played into recruitment trends, for example. So, yeah, I think it's totally different. It's 360, it's not the same at all. It's very flexible and fluid now.
Yeah, it is flexible, and also, workforce has become more agile and diverse. When we talk about post-COVID, remote working it is a thing now. So, what do you think, are the adjustment that, recruiters should make to, stay in the market? Like, what all, adjustment recruiters should make?
So I think it depends on what sort of recruiter you are. So when you're an external recruiter, a lot of it is about, is it sales-based, right? Why should you pick me? Why should I be the person who finds your next top talent? I think that's very different to an in-house recruiter who understands your culture, your skill gaps, what you're looking for, what the client actually does day to day. So I think it depends. For them to kind of remain competitive, they need to understand the role. They need to understand the market, definitely. They need to understand who the target market is and where can I find them. It's not, I find a lot of the times, and I do this as well, we just throw nets out. We're just saying, here's a job, someone come and apply for it. But really we need to be looking more closely at who am I looking for? Where is that person? Why would they come and work for me? Are they on LinkedIn, or are they, looking at newspapers or magazines? So it's, like I said, it's very flexible. It's not going to be the same. If you're using the same technique each time, you're likely to be seeing a lot of turnover. You're likely to be failing.
Yeah. Also, as we talk about remote jobs, I mean, in the health sector, I don't think it's a thing in the health sector. So how, are all those people taking the remote working? I mean, they cannot be exposed to remote working, of course. So, what are some things that, recruiters in the health sector are doing for, those employees who are working around 24 hours sometimes in the hospital, I guess?
I think it's an interesting question. I think it depends what your job is in the health sector. So, people become nurses. They know that they need to be at the hospital to be working. So that's a choice that people make when they kind of join those workforces. There are, some GPs sometimes might work in the morning from home and then go into the office and see patients, for example. So I don't know that, healthcare workers in terms of frontline staff, I don't know that they're looking, obviously for remote work. What's really become apparent for healthcare workers is that they can work anywhere. There's a shortage across the globe for healthcare workers. So they really have their pick of lifestyle, where they'd like to live, where they'd like to work, country hopping. So it's a different kind of flexibility that they might receive that others can't.
Yeah, true. Also, do you use LinkedIn to, hire candidates for health sector? What all job boards are you using, for hiring?
At the moment, I'm not in the health sector, so I use more traditional approaches. We do use LinkedIn, so to advertise and to kind of source through candidates and things like that. We also use the traditional job boards. That's quite popular across Australia. But I think the biggest change that we've had so far is talent pipelines, really engaging with talent who wants to come and work for our business. That is helped through LinkedIn also. But also networking, leveraging your employee referrals, which used to be quite a big thing, probably about 10 years ago, but I feel like that's coming back. It's quite hard to source through traditional methods. So we need to be a little bit more creative about how we find the next lot of talent that we're looking for.
Yeah, got it. Also, like moving ahead with the recruitment part only, like we have to talk about the one change that happened in 2024 was the emergence of AI. Like, do you think that talent acquisition leaders are taking AI seriously? Like, according to you, how can we use, AI in full potential? Are you using AI in any sort of ways?
I think that they are taking it seriously. I feel like every single post I see these days from talent managers is about AI. I think that they use it really well to make themselves more efficient. Crafting job adverts, job descriptions. I like to use it for those things, but as well as creating work tasks or creating assessment methods. Where I think we're not, or maybe I haven't seen really good examples, is how are we leveraging AI in skills assessments, in skill matching, in talent management or learning and development. I think there needs to be more examples of doing that well, because I think that's where AI really should be leveraged, because it's very hard to do those sorts of things without technology. So now that the technology is here, how are we going to utilize that to the best of our ability to really make a difference?
Okay. And what are some tools that you are using in your current space? Some interesting tools that you might be using.
Mostly we use Copilot at work, which has been a game changer for us to source information really quickly and to get things together really quickly. ChatGPT, all of the usual things that people use. But I will say, if people are using that at work or in general, please review it. Yeah. There's so many people who just type it in, copy and paste, and it just makes no sense. It's just there to assist you, but it's not there to take over your voice. You really need to be the one reviewing it and changing up whatever it's spat out for you.
Yeah, that is true. Also, you talked about skill-based hiring and also, skill development, upskilling and reskilling. So, what are your thoughts and how is your organization using or any way of upskilling or reskilling, or they are just hiring for a new role? Like, what do you think is the best way to do that in the organization? Maybe in the smaller one, because I usually talk with people who have startups, and we are a startup, so we are a team of 20 people. So what do you suggest in this scenario?
Well, I'll give you a really good example that I read about a few months ago. I can't remember the company's name, but it's an energy company in Australia. And so we have a big thing about coal mining in Australia and moving on to clean energy. And there was it's quite a large Australian energy company, and they were closing down one of their rural, workplaces, kind of like a center for coal mining, to make way for clean energy. And they probably had about 180 staff members, let's say, for example. Instead of making all of those people redundant because they're used to coal mining, they knew that the clean energy stuff was coming up. So what they did was they re-skilled everybody into, or at least the people who wanted to continue working, they re-skilled them all to work on machines that develop clean energy. And that's a real positive example of upskilling and reskilling. What did that do for them? It kept people who had been there decades. It kept the corporate knowledge there. It made people feel a sense of belonging, that they wanted them to stay. So they reskilled them. They invested in them. Some people did get to leave, but that was on their own accord. They got made redundant, and they opened up this whole new facility with the same people. So I think that's a really great example of how reskilling and upskilling is a positive experience for the company and for the staff members.
Got it. Also, as my very last question, how do you think that the future of work will look like in the coming years? Or according to you, what would you like to the work should look like for you?
I think It's going to be totally different. I think in terms of future of talent, maybe it's going to be very strategic, very project-based. Open vacancies are going to be like a campaign. I think that the future of work, maybe people don't want to hear this, but top talent is in the gig economy. So if somebody excels in their industry, why would they come and work for you? They're excelling. They can make their own rules. So the gig economy is here to stay. Skills over degrees, as everyone says, tech is going to continue to advance. It's really going to surprise us. And I would encourage people to embrace it rather than fight it, because like AI, it's just one of those things that supports us in being better, supports us in working smarter, not harder. Work-life balance will integrate more than it has, I think. And what else? Sustainability and corporate responsibility is going to be big in employer branding. So, yeah, I think for candidates, it's going to be about understanding what you really want. And for employers, it's going to be about who are you and are you visible? Why would I come and work for you?
Yeah, that's true. Also, you mentioned freelancing and, gig economy. So do you think that like freelancing is kind of like a disadvantage for, big organizations or people working part-time and, doing gig working? Like, is it okay for bigger organizations to hire them, or is it like a disadvantage? Because companies give a lot of tools to people, and what if they use it in some other work that they are doing? Like, what are your perspective on that?
I think if you're genuinely looking for top talent, sometimes top talent is a freelancer. Sometimes top talent is someone who works part-time or fractional employees. It depends what you look. I don't think it's a disadvantage. I think, like I said, if you're looking for the best of the best, they're not always looking for full-time work. They're not always looking for that job security. So you need to be more open-minded about what you need. If you're a business that, you rely on that stability of permanent full-time staff members, that's fine. Those people are not going to be people that you can hire. I'm not saying that all top talent is out there freelancing. There is going to be, a major majority of people who know that their skill set is the best of the best, and they're going to, hold all of that leverage.
Yeah, got it. So, Hannah, that concludes our podcast, and thank you so much for being part of it. It was a nice, lovely, quick chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Nidhi.